Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cheat Codes. I'm your host, TaSh. Today, we're talking about something that I care deeply about, and it's something that many people in this industry still treat as sort of nice to have rather than a strategy or an actual priority. And that's building safe spaces and driving gender equality. So, we're going to talk about why it's actually just good business to do so. My guest today has built her career and her own company on exactly that. She's managed over $1 million in monthly user acquisition, led teams across creative, CRM, and monetization at companies like Rovio and Match Group, and founded SisterSound France, and apps with an app studio with many apps that are designed to empower women and educate everyone. She's also founder of the Rzain Society, which is 900 gaming leaders across over 40 countries. They have events in London, Istanbul, Barcelona, and it's all under the banner, Not Your Princess, Just My Own Hero. Please welcome Claire Rozain. Thank you so much for being here. And also, you've built something that I think is pretty multifaceted. And you're a CEO, you're a founder, you're a community builder, and UA expert. So how would you describe what you do to someone that you just met?
I mean, thank you so much, Tash, first for having me. It's amazing to be here. I'm really excited, and thank you also for your kind word. I think we definitely need a podcast like yours, and I'm looking forward to see more initiative like this. So when I had the invite, I was really excited. It took me actually a while to understand what I was doing, but when I found it, it just became quite natural. I'm doing games and apps to make evolve the equality of gender. And I started quite early actually because as actually 30% of women in gaming, I started in marketing where I was really working on user acquisition, creative, and the audience was always fairly female oriented, right? Like it's more than 38% of all the gamers that are actually women. But I always felt like, especially at the beginning, I think 10 years ago, it was even more, something shocking. There is not a lot of women on the table, or even the narrative, the story, the representation you have. It's really specific and focused from my perspective from a male lens, especially because there is a lot of leadership that are still men. So I was like, there is something that seems that could be actually built on that front. And I joined many companies, Gameloft, Rovio, and ultimately I ended up meeting amazing leader. One I'm thinking about is Amy Keku, that at the time was starting inclusive game design and marketing. And I started, getting educating myself about women, but also women of colors, and also colonialism, and all of this actually is connected to games. Even like politics comes into games, even if everyone wants to be corporate. And I was so passionate about it that I was like, okay, I actually need to be independent because I have a lot of things to say and do. And I just decided to choose this path or making evolve like the equality of gender, whatever I do. So I have one consulting company where I have my community that is also belonging to it. That is the Rozain Society. We are doing one event per year. That is not your princess, just my own heroes, where a lot of amazing women have space to express themselves, but also a lot of men can actually get into an immersive experience where they can learn from women and their perspective. So I'm enjoying it a lot. And on my marketing consulting, I'm always working with women audiences, kids app, so we can rewrite actually the narrative. And I have the second part of my focus, which is actually my studio, where I'm trying actually to do games that are showing, like the evolution. I started to build myself to do coding, to do this kind of things because I was like 20% women actually coding. It doesn't feel right, and it actually started to explain a lot why on the narrative there is not a lot of women that are not being saved but actually being the hero, showcasing amazing stories, and like having something that is really meaningful in a game. So this is what I'm doing right now.
That is uh, that is awesome, and it's very interesting how you mentioned being starting out in marketing and transitioning to here, because as someone who's in marketing, we are uniquely poised to see the bigger picture that a lot of people don't see. And it is hard for me, especially, to turn off that switch and not pay attention to the inequality that I see all the time. The term safe space is used so much in this industry, and I mean, in many spaces. And it can feel really hollow because it's just kind of a buzzword and it's not necessarily said with meaning. So, but you've built communities and you've built products that are around the ideas of safe spaces. So, what does that look like to you when it's working?
Um, that's actually a really good question. Because when I started actually Not Your Princess, just my own hero, which was my first, event that was actually dedicated for women. I wanted it to be a safe space for men and women, because my idea, of equality of gender is both getting educated, women getting back visibility, and men actually getting more information about it, and getting passionate about it as much as I am, or at least it's what I'm trying to do. And I really saw that actually it was the men that didn't felt comfortable. Like, everyone was asking me, is it my space to be, is it in mixed city, is it not in mixed city? And I think building safe space is being welcoming enough for people that we want to attract, people that for me have an interest into equality of gender, and getting the space to ask the question, even if sometimes it's really uncomfortable question. And I think it takes a lot of time, to understand those questions. And at the same time, you don't want the minority as well to educate the other people. So you need also to, have enough information that you give, to both gender, that, okay, you have a lot of questions, but also there is, a real mental load of educating someone, when they are not educated. So having people that are passionate enough, to be coming into the event, and also people that are from the minority that will feel empowered as well to speak, to be there, tell their truth. And ultimately, it's all about understanding that we all have our own truth, and we think that is something that is real. And now it's all about how we manage to communicate together, and get on the same pages to make advance basically the thing we want to advance in our society. So a safe space for me is something that respects each other boundaries, doesn't go too far, into the space of the other, especially if they are not welcoming the other, but still is a space where we can learn, where we can challenge things, we can have discussion, we can have also be able to welcome other perspective, even if sometimes it feels really uncomfortable, and discuss together. Because I think it all comes ultimately with communication, and it's what I'm trying to do into my space. I don't know if it's a safe space. I hope it's a safe space. I'm doing my best every year to make it even more a safe space. But it's something that but I think safety is something, I can work on, I can try to make accomplished, but safety is also something we work on our own to feel
Yeah.
safe, based on all the inequalities as well we have as a woman. We had centuries of inequalities that are on our shoulders. So it's normal we don't feel safe. And nowadays, especially with masculinity, for instance, that is rising, all, the content that is produced by men, movies where, like women.
It's a, I think a lot of people in order to be part of safe spaces, they have to, number one, be brave enough to communicate, and number two, be curious enough to listen. And I think that's a great foundation for anyone to start with creating a safe space.
Is really relative, and I wouldn't, be the one saying, oh, I'm creating safe space, I'm perfect, because it's not true. Even on my feminism, I'm a white woman. I'm really privileged. I have my own company. I'm born and raised in yes, from an immigrant family, but from a father that always tell me, Claire, do your shit. You are able to do it, So even myself, I do work every day. I'm listening to podcasts. I have a lot of feminist circle where I speak to different kind of women coming from different backgrounds in France, and I educate myself. But I'm not actually. I can be really unsafe for some women, and I'm totally aware of it. And that's why I think we should never, think, oh, I know everything about feminism. I'm going to do a safe space. If you don't feel safe, it's just going to be. We need to do a work on ourselves to feel safe, but also to be educating, because we all have our own path. And this is actually one of the reasons why, like when I did my game for to make Evolve the equality of gender, I was like, I'm going to focus in France because it's what I know. I wouldn't dare to say I know what is it to be a woman, in Korea, in United States, because reality it is really different. And gaming is a globalized economy, but we are globalizing some standards that are actually not locally similar by one country to the other. And we see it like in United States, for instance, with the abortion, like the abortion, but now, like it's not legal in some states and things like this. It's really different, for instance, in France. And my father is Italian, same, it's really different in Italy. So I think also like we need to speak about what we know. And that's why, I decided also to speak about a French woman to start with and focus my game on this because it's where I feel the most legitimate at this stage. And gaming is doing a lot of mistakes actually by appropriation. And for
Yeah.
me, this is, a bit like patriarchy and colonialism. You take what is not yours. So like I don't have issue about men, being passionate about women product, for instance, the period apps. But okay, but then communicate about it on your social media, share for women, go speak to your main investor, tell them to invest also in women femtech and tech and others. So I think we need to understand that appropriation is happening in gender.
Something I talk about is the price of research, because there isn't a price to appropriation. If you have to research a culture, not only do you not know the areas where you're blind, it's no way that you can fully know looking from the outside in. And that also goes for creating products for women that really exclude the way women think, because you're from the outside looking in. There's a cost. There's a monetary cost. There's a time cost, and it's also a cost of trust, because I can't trust you to tell my story if you have no curiosity about me and I'm not involved in the process.
I totally agree with you. I think like as women we have a legacy. We are, like in speaking with a lot of women, because we are biased. Huh? I'm really biased. If you show me a group, I will straight go to a woman because it will be my safe zone. Like by design, there is things that women, like they feel, they know. Even like if I'm taking me, I'm doing a business, so I'm independent, I'm earning my own money, and I see it like the way to lead as a woman is really different as a man, and it's also really biological. And I'm not I don't want to do, like I'm not essentialist at all, but when I have my period as an entrepreneur, I'm just telling myself, okay, Claire, it's really different than when you just are in ovulation, or like I'm not going to take the same decision. So it's much less linear for women than it is actually for men. And the day I started to be in peace with it, I actually made better business decision, and I did a lot of bad business decision because I accepted, okay, maybe it's my hormone, maybe it's something that is going on. I'm just going to slow down. If I'm tired, it's not because I'm burned out. It's just because I'm a woman. I was just at my period. I'm exhausted. So I will just slow down. But I think it's really difficult for a man to sometimes get this perspective because you are not experiencing it. And I'm not saying it's impossible, because a lot of men, like they have a woman leadership and they are the decision maker, and then it can impact. But I think we all should have a space into the woman space. And we should also not repeat the mistake from the past, which is not making visible a minority of gender, which is the woman, and giving them their own voices, which is really important, especially in a patriarchal society, which is a society I've been born and raised in France, unfortunately, and it's still the case when we see like the politics, for instance. I mean, it's really sad to say that in France it's still men-led, and same in companies. It's still a high ratio that we have of men that are leading companies, and it affects all the decision and the products that are distributed in France. And it's not something that is wrong to say. Like sometimes you say I'm a feminist, people are like, oh no, it's really bad, no no,
Yeah.
she's going to do politics. No, it's it's where I come from. It's the life I'm living, actually. And I'm not saying a bad word saying I'm a feminist and I experience the patriarchal society, because it is the world I personally lived in, and I respect everyone, like life and so on. But I think there is so much women can do nowadays, and I just want to share this in respect of us, but also all the women that came before us, that have been achieving amazing things, like they won Nobel Prize, they won sport competition, and they deserve as well to have a space to be seen. And that's why I'm doing games to give it back to them.
You've built games, you've built apps, things like cycle-adapted fitness, feminist education quizzes. And how do you approach building something that genuinely centers women?
Yes. So it took me like a lot of time, actually, to find my positioning, to make evolving like the equality of gender, because I was anti-patriarchy apps, then I was things like this. So I decided to stop to do apps first, because apps, it was great to learn how to do coding and stuff. But I think game is the perfect medium for me to share a different story of what we have. When I feel inspired is when I have creativity, when I'm watching movies, series, reading a good book. I think as a woman, we found a lot of space into those artistic, space, like book, and it was my case, for instance. And games has have been actually kind of a space, safe space for me to find myself, to understand what I wanted to do, what I wanted to learn, and so on. So what I want to do is to do games, and I'm actually developing that give back visibility to women. So I'm doing a crossword right now where we will give back space for women in museum in France. And all the story of the game will be to find the word in a crossword. And every time you unlock a painting of a woman that disappeared in the history, a French woman, and you bringing back to the museum, her portrait by playing the game. So it's my way to give them back visibility and thank them, for to have speak up, to have been shining, and to inspire me in my life. So I'm starting, with really different women that are, for instance, sportive, that are Nobel Prize, that are actor even. But it's a lot of women, that people have been forgotten. But they did amazing things. Like if you play the game, you can see it, because every time you unlock a character, you see some word about what they achieved actually in France. And it's not something I've been taught in history at school, unfortunately. But my hope is that melting, history, feminist history, woman history with a game can actually bringing back to our life, and empower other women as well, to say, okay, actually there is a lot of strong women before me, and I can also do big things.
I love that. I think that's a brilliant idea because I mean, it's bringing it back to the space of the game you're playing and then just bringing it back to the reality and the worldview of people at the same time. I think that's brilliant.
Thank you.
So you are a builder. You came from marketing. You're you're self-taught is essentially with with everything. You're incredibly studious. How how do you support other people in this space that are also trying to build and just create something new?
Yes, so I started to allocate a bit of my time to accelerator. So I started with Xola Accelerator, and this year I'm doing it in Marrakesh with VGI, which is in Morocco, so Marrakesh in Morocco. And I'm doing it as well in Bangalore in India. Usually, I'm not going to lie, I have like one woman per cohort or two women, but why I want to do it is first because I start all of my class with some number about women in gaming. So men are actually getting an understanding of where is the state of women and why it's important actually to have women leader when you build a game for women audiences. So all my class start with this and some statistic that is really interesting. But you can ask me, I can share it greatly happily. And I also decided to do it in in countries that had been colonialized because there is a lot of stories as well that needs to be tell but has not been told appropriately because of colonialism. So right now I'm really targeting on this, like helping others telling their own stories. And I have amazing game story that are from the Marrakesh cohort that I absolutely love, where you see the art style that is really authentic. With one of the women, bright woman Fatima, she's doing a kid game about history. So of course I'm really happy, to see like what she's bringing into the narrative, because there is a lot of things that have not been told the right ways. Games is a medium to reestablish also the proper story. And in Bangalore there is not a lot of women, but there is more men. But I think it's important for men as well to get an understanding of why it's important. And I'm really lucky that as I have been working in big companies big enough to understand that women audiences needed women leadership. So it's also what I'm trying to teach to those people, to understand early on and build on really good basics. But actually, you need to think about your ethics, especially in advertising early on, and not, just do no matter what to have a good CPI.
You brought up an important point because people often think of colonialism suppressing just resources. Stories are also a resource that colonialism suppresses. And I mean, take an opportunity to present them even through games because if you look at the statistics of who's reading the most books, especially books that are storytelling books, it's not men. And it's not the people who are actually doing the most damage. So bringing it to games and bringing it to apps, and that's another medium to get those stories told.
Totally. And imagine if games like Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed will like share even like 1% of like those kind of topics. I'm sure thousands of men, even kids that are growing with those games actually will get more educated about this and maybe make different decision while growing up. So I think there is a big work to do, because there is a lot of stories that has been untold, that has been silenced, and there have been a lot of violence, like during this period, that needs to be shown, expressed, and also like just putting words into things, like there is terrible things that have been happening, and if we don't want this to happen again, you need to voice it, you need to speak about it. And it's not the work, once again, of the minorities to do it, it's your work to educate yourself. And I hope the like the industry, it can be like the cinema, books, games, any medium, artistic medium, should be a tool to share the truth and also to express. And I hope it's where we are going to be. And I hope by empowering different talents that are, from ex-colonialized, yeah, sorry, my English is really bad, ex-colonialized countries, is going to reestablish the truth. And I hope, like the next Call of Duty is going to be made by someone in this country. And there is one of my really close friends. She just did her own agency, Narratify, actually. Jennifer Lufo. She's an amazing person to follow on social media, and she's actually speaking about all those topics. And I think there is a lot to do. She's actually helping studio as well to get a good PR reach and also representation in games. So I really recommend her content if you want to get educated.
You mentioned she's trying to get good PR reach, and I feel that the industry doesn't necessarily pour resources into values aligned products, and I feel like we're at a very unique opportunity to bring visibility to it. So, what can we do to amplify those stories?
So I think, and I don't know how it is in different countries, but me, I'm seeing it more in France. But a lot of people nowadays, they choose what they want to consume. They purposely want to consume women content, for instance, to empower them. They want to have something that is, getting involved where they are, like if you say, oh, I'm really feminist, and you never invested into any woman around you and you get some capital, it's going to be weird, right? So they want to have brands, that are putting their money as well where their words are. So I think nowadays it's not, even that you should do it because it's the right way to do it. It's just that with AI, everyone is just bored with, content that is just, boring and with a lot of words. And, like when I'm reading every time something in English wrote by an AI, me as a French, I'm like, oh my God, please use less words. I'm a bit sad that AI came in because it's twice more work for me. So I think people, they want authentic stuff, they want things, they want brands, there is so many content. If you manage to have something that is just purposeful, that people say it makes them want to dream, to create, to go outside of the day-to-day things, they are going to get interested into you. And I think, it's all about, getting your brand guidelines, and which actually each brand is actually having. When I started at Match Group, we had a brand book and things like this, but now it's time for gaming as well to get values, to get authenticity, and to go beyond capital. Because maybe I'm being too much an indie developer, but I think the success of a lot of games comes at the start by a founder that really believe in what they do. And when I think, about my favorite games, for instance, Trees Please is one of my favorite experience. And basically, you are playing a merge game, and more you play, more you can replant trees in the real life. Me, it's things that I'm
I
passionate
love
about.
that.
Yes, I mean, like there is so many things you can do with games. And I think more we will have activists as a founder and diversity as a founder, which is what I'm seeing, with AI. There is a lot of talent from everywhere in the world now that are rising up, and not only, this old white male that
Yeah.
get the capital because the VC feels they are really similar to them. And I have nothing against them. I think it's great to have different things, and I don't want to do any ageism as well. But we need to have a balance, and for this, we need to have more. It's like politics. We need to have more young people excited about what they do in France, at least. And we don't have this, unfortunately. But I hope, in game, in politics, it will change. And I think AI and getting a lot of information, education available will help to change this.
What's something that you wish you knew 10 years ago? So for someone that's just starting out, like you could say, hey, I wish I knew this when I started. You need to know this.
I wish I knew I would have to work so much on myself, because like when I told you, like, you need to work on yourself to be safe as well. I think I have so many insecurities, and we are our own barriers. And I think for I've been my own barriers a lot, and I'm still nowadays, but I'm more conscious of it. So I'm doing some boxing, to learn how to fight. I'm doing a lot of different things, but I think I've not been always aware of that I will need to work on myself. And the reason why you need to work on yourself is because you need to feel capable. You need to feel that you can do it, because there is some difficult days that are going to come as a founder. You are going to be the one taking the decision 36 5 days. So you need to be clear on your mind, and you need to not pay someone to tell you what to do, or getting a weird spiritual things,
Yeah.
where like um, I mean, I'm personally not spiritual, but I feel, sometimes you just pay to get advice, and you're like, okay, I did the job. But no, the job comes from you, and it comes from your heart, knowing yourself, your authenticity. And we get one life. We are all only humans, and time is limited here. So just being aware of it, and doing what we love.
I love that because time is limited. Might as well go, right?
Totally. I'm
I,
getting old now, so I see it now.
and we can start over at any time, and it is my hope, with the more we bring visibility to topics like this, the more we talk about it, the more that we exist in these spaces, that people start to realize that the rules that we're following are just imaginary. And we could do so much more than we ever thought we could.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, I think we, like we grow up, we go to school, we need to be in a square to get our degrees, everything. And all the rest of the life is learning how to unlearn,
Right.
to be yourself. So it's quite a funny way. But once you get it, it's a constant work for sure.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being on Cheat Codes. I really enjoyed this conversation, and this is just the type of talks that I live for. So
Thank you
where
so much, Tash. I mean, I think you're really changing the game with what you're doing. It's so important. We need more space like yours in order to speak, our truth and different truth. And this is the space you are giving. So this is really precious.
Thank you. So where can people who are listening, where can they find you and follow your work if they're interested in connecting?
So definitely add me on LinkedIn. Usually I accept everyone. And outside of this, I'm working a lot on my own project. So I'm not always really responsive, and I'm sorry for this, because unfortunately time is really limited. But once, I get my first success, I'm sure I will have much more time,
Yes.
and I will be able to answer to everyone.
Thank you so much. And thank you for tuning in to Cheat Codes, everyone. If this conversation resonated with you, please share it. To stay connected with Women in Games International, please visit us at getwiggy.com and subscribe to our newsletter. And you can find us on all socials at GetWiggy. Take care, and we will talk soon.